common cause very much essential for the movement of the central government employees and pensioners, also helping to take up all the issues in the for litigation in the court of law. And again, Miss Swapna Jha, and request her to deliver her speech on the subject given. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is okay. So, welcome and congratulations to all of you present here on Pensioners Day, today, December 17. So many years back, almost 4 decades back, our founder director, Mr. H.D. Shourie, I think this was our first case in the Supreme Court, or anywhere for that matter. Like, this was our first public interest litigation, and we've been really. Mr. Shourie was one single person who wanted to do something after his retirement. He wanted to do something for the common man, and this was the only way in which he thought he could help the common man. So when the government came up with this decision to grant pension benefit, revised pension benefits to pensioners who retired on a particular day and denied the same benefit to others who had retired before that, he thought that it was a good cause to be taken up on behalf of all the pensioners. So he started making representations to the government. That did not yield any result. So he then wrote to his start my video. I just got 1 second.
Now, okay.
Yeah. So then he wrote to people, to citizens, to share their grievance with him, and he forwarded all those letters to the Prime Minister's office. So the only response he got was that this pension benefit cannot be retrospective. Then he thought that he should go to the court, and this was the first petition. So later on, I'll speak on how all of this happened and what he had to go through in order to do that. But first, I would like to make a brief introduction of Common Cause. And as you all know, and as Mr. Krishnan has already informed you, that Common Cause is mostly, we are kind of a pressure group. We engage with the government when they are making policies. We comment on the draft legislation that they put up on the website. More often than not, they give us like 15 days, 30 days. And when a lot of hue and cry is made, then they extend the deadline for submitting comments. So it starts from there. Then whenever there is any legislation which is passed despite a lot of resistance from concerned citizens, then we write to them, we make representations to them. And when all of this fails, we have no other option but to go to the courts. When I was preparing for this webinar, I read a lot about Mr. Shourie's interviews during those days. And Mr. Shourie, in one of the interviews, he said that we had to wait for very long. We filed this case in this year, and the judgment came only 2 years later. And I was really surprised, because 2 years is no time. And he was lamenting that the judgment came after a very long gap. And here we have filed cases, like I had joined Common Cause in the year 2010. And cases that had been filed much before my joining, even they have not been disposed of. And these are all public interest litigation. So even approaching the courts these days, they have lost the sanctity. And but still, we have not given up as an organization. We're trying to carry on what Mr. Shourie had started. We are a small organization. Very few of us are there. But we put in all our efforts to do and to achieve what we think is just. So I will just mention few of our landmark cases. Of course, the cases on pension, which I'll come to later, they are probably, it was only the DS Nakara case which got us a mention in the Guinness Book of World Record. Then another struggle which as an organization we've been going through again and again is these appointments by the government. So every time, every now and then, the government appoints circumventing laws, circumventing at times even going against the dictum of the law. They make appointments, puppet appointments or cage parrots. So they make appointments to these very high sensitive posts where they can put their own or pliant public servants who can do their like beck and calling instead of serving the public for whom they actually took the oath and for whom they came into the public service. Many a times you must have seen we've challenged the appointment of the director CBI, the director enforcement, the directors, vigilance, chief vigilance commissioner. But every time, by the time the case is taken up by the court, by the time the order of the court comes, it is already, the period has already lapsed. The appointment is like, if it is for 2 years, it is always like 2 months or 1 month before the period is about to end. The court will say, okay, fine, now there's no point in removing him. But next time, we request the government or we direct the government not to do this, but they still do this. And now by this, you must be aware, now they've passed an ordinance by which they have put all this to rest. Now they can extend the tenure up to 5 years. So when any government comes into power, they will have the right to authority to appoint people, client public servants for a period straight away for a period of 5 years, extendable up to 5 years. So that takes care of their one of the reasons for which we would approach the court and for which we had a discussion going on with the executive. Then also we've been challenging allocation of natural resources to which we think all citizens have equal right and not some high and mighty industries can exploit and make money out of it. So the coal block allocation case or the 2G spectrum case or illegal mining in Odisha are some of our landmark cases. I have a very good audience in front of me right now. I request all of you to go on our website and to go through these cases. They're really nice, good cases. The judgments are also good. Another case where we approached the Supreme Court was on internet freedom of speech and expression. I think the Congress UPA too was in power, and at that time, anyone writing anything against the people in power was put behind bars under Section 66A of the IT Act. So we filed, we approached the Supreme Court, we filed a writ petition. And very promptly, the court said that, yes, Justice Rohinton. So he said that, fine, this is unconstitutional, violative of the fundamental rights. And that section was scrapped from the law. And you'll be really surprised that even today, the police makes arrests under that section itself. So all the effort put in, all the time of the court, our time, everything has gone, so to say, wasted. Because when you go through the reports published by the Crime Bureau, several arrests, as per the police report, are made under Section 66A, a section which is no longer in existence. Like, no longer in existence, when I say that, arrests cannot be made under that section, but it has lost, the judgment has lost its sanctity. Then the last case is the patient's right to die with dignity. This case was filed many years back, and many of our patrons earlier before COVID, for our annual general meeting, the patrons, the members would come to Common Cause House in Delhi to attend the meeting. And with my own eyes, I have seen 3 such people. Next year, the gentleman would not be there. Then next year, some other gentleman would not be there. And every time, till the time they were alive, they kept asking, oh, has the judgment on that case come? But the judgment was never delivered, and
Hello, who is disturbing the meeting? Some noise is coming from behind.
it's an echo. It's an echo. So after that, after many years, the court set out a, you must have read about that case where that nurse in the hospital, in her case, the court said wrong interpretation of law, but the court said that yes, fine, mercy killing, or that is allowed. But in our case, later on, a constitution bench said that no, since India does not, it cannot, right to life does not actually cover right to death. But they laid out a long drawn procedure, and they also requested or directed the center to come up with the legislation. The center never ever came up with the legislation, and I don't think they will come because they are opposed to it. And the value or the implication of the judgment, the procedure set out by the court is so cumbersome. It is so cumbersome that till date, not a single will has been executed. Not a single will has been executed. Our petition only said that when I am in my senses, I should have the right to execute a living will, where I can say that if I am in vegetative state, I don't want extension of my life by inducing artificial, because today if I go into that state, I know my children are capable enough to look after me, so they will put me in the hospital, they will keep spending money after me, and that's a waste. That's a national waste. But the process and the procedure set down by the court is so pathetic and cumbersome that also has gone down the drain. Then also we have been doing the advocacy and research initiative. The details you can see on our website. Then we've been doing this status of policing in India report. It is a very interesting report, and I request again all of you to go through that report, because it shows both sides of the coin. Like at times you feel that the police atrocities are too much, and at times you feel pity for the police force in India, how overwhelmed they are with work and how much they're trying to cope up. So this is what I had to say about my organization, Common Cause. I would also request all of you to visit the website, to become our members, and to contribute in whichever way you can, because all of us have been through very harsh times in these 2 years, and Common Cause does not accept donations from abroad, like foreign contributions. We don't. So all we survive on is the membership basically, and the donations that some of our patrons give us. Any cause where you think intervention of Common Cause will help, any article, any donations, any way, in whichever way you can help to us financially, to take us forward financially, or even in our spirits, I will be very grateful. I think now we should go to our cases on pension, which was filed by Common Cause. Basically, it was filed by Common Cause under the directorship of Mr. H.D. Shourie. So this case was filed in a long time back, when in 1980 the government increased the pension for its retired employees only for those who retired after April 1, 1979. Now, as I said, Mr. Shourie wrote to them, but the response was it cannot be retrospective. So he approached the Supreme Court. And I would like to share some little information about this case. So at that time, when he went to the Supreme Court, he had he did not have like much exposure or experience about filing of writ petitions. Later on, he was one person who would enter the court and even the judges would stand up because he commanded that kind of respect. But initially when he had decided, when everything, all persuasion, everything failed, so he thought he should file the case on pension. So the prayers in this petition was drafted by none other than Mr. Fali Nariman, which is a very interesting fact. And thanks to your webinar invitation, I would not have known this. It was only after my research for this webinar that I got to know it. The case was considered to be so important that the Supreme Court transferred it to the Constitution bench, a larger bench. And it was filed in 1980, decided in 1982, on which Mr. Shourie had lamented that it was eventually decided in 1982. After this case was decided, it benefited some overall benefit of this decision was that of millions of the numbers of pensioners in millions involved, and it involved additional payment of over 300 crores, which is a huge amount of money in 1982. And this historic decision was taken note of by the Guinness Book of World Record, and they wrote to Common Cause saying that according to their information, no other single case in the world had directly benefited such a large number of persons through one decision. And thereafter, it has been cited many times, this case. Then we filed another case. We, as in Mr. Shourie, filed another case. I am sure you all know very well, more than me, you must be aware of the Nakara case. So I'm not reading the facts of the Nakara case. Is that all right? Or do you want me to read the facts?
You can explain Nakara case, crux of the matter also.
Okay, I will do that. I will do that. That is good. So, in by an order of executive order of May 25, 1979, the government liberalized the computation of pensions and made it applicable to all employees retiring on or after March 31, 1979. And this is what Mr. Shourie thought was, and rightly so, what he thought was correct. He thought that this is not fair, this is arbitrary. So he challenged these rules in the Supreme Court. And the government said that government are prepared to grant to the dependents, minors, the same pensionary benefits which they could have given to the pensioners themselves. But again, they said that we don't consider this appropriate to grant. This is a relief which is given to pensioners retiring after a particular date, and we don't want to do this to pensioners who have retired or who have already retired. So the issue at hand was that whether the date of retirement is a relevant consideration for eligibility or computation of pension, whether differential treatment based on date of retirement, because pension is a grant which is given by the government towards employees or retired people because they have spent their entire life serving the government. So what should be the basis of granting or denying pension? The date on which they retire or something else? What should be the criteria for creating a classification? So our case was that the pensioners are entitled to receive pension benefits under the statute. As per law, that was the law framed by the government. It was not, I mean, it was not a pittance or something given out of arms that was given to the pensioners. It was their right as per law. And the date of retirement is irrelevant, because for the exclusion of benefit and retirement, there cannot be a mini classification within the class of pensioners. This different treatment based on only specified date of retirement definitely violates Article 14 of the Constitution. And why choose that day? What is the reason behind choosing that day? If there is no valid reason, then such a selection is arbitrary. And such classification, which is based on accidental circumstances of retirement, it should not be held to be valid. And the same pension, if the government has revised pension, if it has calculated pension, keeping in view inflation or the higher cost of living or whatever. So how does that not entitle people who've retired before a particular day? They are also living in the same society. They also have the same expenses. They are facing the inflation. They are facing the high rate of living. But government's response was that such a classification, which is based on the date of retirement, is valid for granting of pension, because the date is an integral part of the scheme of liberalization. Now the date was fixed by the government. The date was not, the scheme of liberalization was important, but the date was not important. And hence they said that doctrine of severability, they were reluctant, they were unwilling to impose the doctrine of severability. Our request was that, okay, fine, you've come up with a scheme, just remove that one line which says only to people who retire after XYZ date. But they were like, no, date is most important, so we will not do that. And they also said that almost every case, there's some category and class already set up according to the scope and provisions of any law which is passed. So there are classifications, subsets within that. So this is not arbitrary. So then the issue before the court was these two issues, that whether the date is relevant, and if it is not, is such a classification violative of Article 14 or not? So the court was of the opinion that the Article 14 says no discrimination on the basis of religion, race, caste, all of us are aware of. So after going through various provisions of the Constitution, like Article 14, Article 32, Article 38, 39, 41, and the rules, Rule 34, all these rules which were under challenge, the court came to the decision that this classification or this differentiation was violative of Article 14, and it held that the government will have to give the same benefits to all pensioners, irrespective of whether they retired in April 79 or before that. So, and the government also knew that they might take some time, so they were told to implement this within a certain period of time, which they did. Probably they did. I have not looked into that aspect. So this DS Nakara case was a very good case, in the sense it helped pensioners. We all know, I mean, we become pensioners only when we retire. And we retire because the government thinks that, okay, fine, they've done enough. Now they are not physically or mentally in a state to do anything further. So basically, when they think that we are redundant, they make us retire. So if they have considered that we are redundant, then they should not be expecting us to go to government offices and to keep going through the files, requesting people, or even fighting for our own justice. So this case in that way helped pensioners all across the country. And when I say pensioners, this is 79 people who retired before 79. Many of them must be in their 80s, 90s. So this was a very good case, and especially government servants who were working during that period when the country had just come out of under the clutches of Britishers. Those people who had served the country and who had built the nation, helped build the nation. This judgment benefited them. So this is a very important judgment, a very good judgment, and Common Cause really is proud to have secured this judgment. Then my second case that I will share with you is family pension. So in this family pension case, there was one case from one writ was filed by a widow of one pensioner. What had happened was till 1964, probably the government had a scheme where you had to contribute towards your own pension, either 5,000 rupees or 2 months salary, whichever was less. So those who did not contribute, their family members were not given family pension after the demise of the pensioner. Later, few years later, the government decided to do away with this contributory thing, and they said irrespective of no need to contribute, not irrespective of no need to contribute, and it is okay, like even if somebody has not contributed, still they will get the surviving members, the wife or the dependent children, they will get the benefit of pension. So now again there was a subset within the surviving dependent wife or the widow or the children of the pensioners. Those who had not opted, their widows or their dependent minor children, they were not given pension benefits. And once the scheme was done away with, once the contributory scheme was done away with, thereafter everyone was getting, but these people before that who had not opted, nobody in this government paid attention to this. Again, representations did not yield any result. So Mr. Shourie approached the Supreme Court. So what had happened was 1950, when the government had devised this widows grant of pension to widows, it had decided that either that 2 months salary or 5,000 rupees. Then later they did away with that, but they forgot to mention people covered under that scheme where contribution was not made. So when Mr. Shourie approached the court, the issues that we put before the court were that whether these people are entitled, whether not granting them, the widows and the dependent, whether not granting them pension, because at that time when this rule was in existence, they had decided to opt out of the contributory system, whether that is valid, whether it stands the test of law. And the court rightly said that no, it does not. So this was a case in which Common Cause was a co-petitioner in the SLP filed by the writ which was rejected by the Mumbai High Court. This was again a very good case, and the government conceded finally that, and very, very rightly, like this petition, they did not even oppose. They said, okay, fine, we are going to change this immediately. So this case was not opposed by the government as against DS Nakara, where the government council was persistent that no, the date is very important. We cannot sever the date from the scheme of proposal, and pension cannot be retrospective. In this case, the government council very politely, he said that, okay, this was a mistake on our part. We are going to rectify this. Then after this, the commutation of pension was filed. So as you all know that earlier, before the decision of this case, if a pensioner got his pension commuted, then his pension would be based on whatever his actual pension should have been minus the commuted amount, which was that revised or the lesser pension was given to him throughout his life. So Mr. Shourie approached the court And he raised these issues that this was not correct. What was happening was not correct. So the government, on the suggestion of the court, reconsidered the matter. And in some states, actually, they had the system that recovery from monthly pension towards commuted value of pension would automatically, it did stop on completion of 15 years from the date of commutation. But it was not there in the central services, it was not there in many states, it was not there, and in defense too, it was not there at all. So after this case, the Supreme Court decided that, okay, fine, you have to calculate it, and after a period of our petition also had this request that whatever is the amount, commuted amount that the pensioner claims, it is basically recoverable within 12 years. So they wanted the period, common cause had requested that after 12 years, the deduction, the commutation should be completed and the pensioner should be given the actual pension amount and not deductions made. But the court did not find merit in this argument, this request. So this was denied, but the commutation of pension case was done, decided in our favor. Then after the judgment of December 9, 1986, this was 1986. So from 82 till 1986, there were 3 cases that were filed. And in this case, all central government pensioners governed by the rules of 1981, and same with armed forces personnel and officers, who had commuted the admissible portion of their pension, were entitled to have the commuted portion restored on the expiry of 15 years from the date of retirement. And again, the court directed that this should be given effect, the order of the court should be given effect within a period of 3 months, which was complied with by the government of India. So basically, there was one more case. I tried to look for the details of that case, but I could not find the details either on the Supreme Court website, neither on our website. That was one interview with which I had read of Mr. Shouris. He had also approached the court requesting that the dependents or the widow of pensioners who had who were no longer there, they should be contacted and they should also be given the pension. But the government also and the court also said that it was not possible, and it was actually not possible. India has a huge population, but I could not find any other detail. This was just 1 or 2 newspaper interviews. Based on that, I'm sharing it with you because I found that to be interesting, but I have no evidence for that. So this is basically 3 cases which Common Cause filed, and which has benefited so many. And as a result of which we are celebrating the day today. So I have finished my presentation. Thank you.
President, Comrade Ragate ji, I would like to have a few words.
Okay.
Comrade, Common Cause, they have intervened in such important cases and which was actually beneficial to the pensioners community. Central government pensioners, not only central government pensioners, even state government pensioners were benefited because of the victories attained by the Common Cause in the court. Really, we are very, very much thankful. And in fact, our organization had contributed 5,000 rupees to Common Cause when we tried to establish contact with them. And I have assured them that in the webinar itself, we can appeal. And after the webinar also, we can appeal through our organization. And those districts and circles, states, which are willing to contribute, they can contribute to the central headquarters and we can divert the funds to the Common Cause. That is one aspect. Another aspect is I have a request for Ms. Swapna Jha. that there is a very important case where the central government employees are divided into two sections. Those who entered into service before 1/1/2004 and those who entered into central government service after 1/1/2004. Many state governments, many public sector undertakings also followed this particular order, and in almost all places, whoever had entered into service after 1/1/2004 are denied the pension by the government and the management. They are brought under NPS, National Pension System, and that under national pension system, even if for 20 years a man as an employee contributes and retires, he hardly gets 1,500 rupees as pension. Whereas under CCS pension rules 1972, we are assured of a minimum pension of 9,000 rupees, which is 50% of the 18,000 rupees, the minimum salary in the central government services. And every pensioner is assured under para 4.2 of the OM dated 1/9/2008 by the government, issued after the 6th Central Pay Commission, that all pensioners immediately after retirement, they are assured and ensured of 50% of the basic pay of the particular cadre, particular pay scale in which they retired, plus the grade pay for which we are entitled. So the central government pensioners are getting 50% of the lost pay drawn as the pension, or 10 months average, whichever is greater. But this is absolutely not ensured in National Pension Scheme, where the pensioners retire under NPS after 1/1/2004, they hardly get 1,500 to 2,000 rupees pension per mensum, which is absolutely not commensurate with the price rise and not commensurate with the actual conditions. Our plea is that under Nakara judgment, the Supreme Court had clearly said that the government should not artificially create a cut-off date and create two sections of the pensioners. Similarly, central government employees, all conditions are same. We are recruited under same rules. We are given the same basic pay. We are given same pay, dearness allowance, and we are given same promotional system under modified assured career progression scheme, which is called as MACP scheme. But after retirement, one section of the employees are given a good pension, and another section which is now becoming a majority slowly, because after 2004, the recruitment started, and today lakhs and lakhs of central government employees and state government employees and public sector employees are coming under NPS. After retirement, they are actually given a stepmotherly treatment. My request is, why not our NGO Common Cause should help us. We are also ready to join, and we can give the new NPS pensioners also, and Common Cause can take up this fight and file a case in the Supreme Court, as they have filed important cases in the past, like Nakara judgment, like commutation of pension. Very good judgments were obtained by the intervention of the Common Cause. So similarly, we are also interested, but we do not know whether we can file a case. Even the 7th Pay Commission chairman, Justice Mathur, had at one point of time he told, why you have not challenged this particular NPS in the Supreme Court. So as a passing reference, Justice Mathur also said that we should have challenged it. So why not Common Cause help us? Why not Common Cause discuss and file a case with the help of some pensioners? If it is necessary, we are, as an association, we can join, or as some pensioners who are coming under NPS can join, and Common Cause can take up the fight, and they can file a case, and lakhs of central government employees and state government employees and public sector employees will be benefited if you can win the case in the Supreme Court. And that is my prayer to you. Kindly consider in all Common Cause meetings, and if possible, we are ready to join you and in the common fight of the new sections, which are actually numbering more than 25 lakhs today. So kindly consider it. So these are the two sections, two appeals. With the consent of the president, I will request that our organization should take up the appeal to all districts and states and contribute to the CHQ, and we can divert the funds to this common cause main fund as our contribution, and common cause can also help us by the thinking over whether they can file a case, whether it is fit to file a case for the NPS pensioners. Thank you, Comrades.
So, Comrade Raghavendra Saab,
Yes.
can we invite next speaker on?
Yeah, we can. You can thank our common cause leader, Madam
Yes.
Swapna Jha, and then
Yeah.
you can invite other speakers.
Yes. Comrade, many thanks to Comrade Miss Swapna Jha. She has delivered a very elaborative and studious speech on the cases which were fought by common cause. The cases of the collective nature and benefits to the central government employees and lakhs of the other employees, they got benefited through the common cause. So request has been made by General Secretary Comrade Raghavendra to extend support to the pre-retired 2004 and post-retired 2004 employees, NPS covered. So I'm sure Comrade Jha will think on this and extend her helping hand to the AIPRPA organizations. At the same time, we have given a small amount of as a token of donation to small cause, and we will make as it is already appealed by General Secretary. I am hopeful it will be responded by the comrades of AIPRPA. Thanks to Comrade Jha. Now, I request Comrade KKN Kutti ji. Should I? Comrade KKN Kutti is up. Are you hearing me?
Yes, he is very much here.
Yes, Comrade Kutti, he is a Secretary General of National Coordination Committee, National NCCPA, who is dealing with the pensioner associations. And I request Comrade KKN Kutti to address this meeting.
Yes. Comrade President, are you listening me, Comrade?
Yes, Comrade. Yes, go on.
Comrade President and my dear comrades who have been invited as panelists for attending this webinar, and the distinguished guest on this occasion, Madam Swapna Jha, who has delivered a wonderful lecture on the importance of the judgment of DS Nakara, the observance of which actually the pensioners all over the country are observing today. In fact, it is not even an observance, it is a celebration for them. Because the impact and purport of the judgment was so very huge that she, in her speech, said about millions of people being benefited by this single judgment. I wanted to say it may not be even millions, because if you take into account that the number of state government employees who have been benefited by this judgment, and the number of employees who are benefiting every pay commission when it comes into being, because every pay commission revises the pension, and naturally the benefit flows not only to the people who were there or after the date, who were there in service after the date, but even for the people who have retired, who have gone long time back. So this process has been continued, and therefore the impact of the judgment is so very huge that it must be an unprecedented matter. And I can assure her that the number will definitely go much higher. And we are thankful to her for coming and presenting this before us, giving us more elucidation on the judgment. Some of the things which were not known to us, because being laymen, we may not be expected to know about a lawyer is understanding about it. But we are very much thankful to her for elucidating those points and elaborating this judgment at its purport. Secondly, the common cause itself, that institution, it should survive in the country. Because today going to the court of law, or for that matter, Supreme Court, is beyond the ambit or the financial purview of any common man in this country. It requires an institutional structure, otherwise it will not be possible for them to fight out the case before the Supreme Court. So naturally, common cause, this institution which has been founded by one of the greatest soul of our country, Mr. Discovery, to survive. So we will do everything that is possible by us insofar as its financial survivability is concerned. We will discuss this matter in our committee, and I assure you, as Secretary General of the organization, that we will be in touch with you, not only in touch, but we'll financially help you out, not only as a one-time measure, but even as a permanent methodology of financing your organization. And thirdly, comrade, I just wanted to make a few mention about this judgment, how important it is. Because today, all over the country, almost all pensioners organizations are observing it. And the observance have started sometime when people started coming to know about the very importance of this judgment. It's not only a question of classification that has been decided, but one thing very, very importantly, which has been, when I went through the judgment, what I found was that they have made one particular example in this judgment. It says that if revision of pay scale takes place, it takes place for every employee. It doesn't take place only for the people who have been recruited after the division, after the particular date. It applies to everybody. They are in service. So a fitment formula is given in that pay commission's report itself. It is through that fitment formula, it has been made applicable to entirety of the government employees as far as revision of pay is concerned. So why not revision of pension? Does it not stand on the same legs? This one question that has been perhaps come in the discussions in the court when I went through the judgment fully and completely, which has struck me as an important factor. There are very many things that even today government makes mini classification amongst the class of the employees by putting artificial dates on many things. The latest judgment was the question of MACP. I have gone through the judgment in the case of MACP, the Supreme Court judgment. Unfortunately, they have gone beyond their, if I can use that word, beyond their jurisdiction. I do not know whether I am right or not. Because the case before them was only whether the MACP should be made applicable on the basis of grade pay system or on the basis of hierarchical promotional system that is available in an organization. But the judgment has been given the date of it is an incentive, and the date of effect can be decided by the government. It has nothing to do insofar as they have turned down their own judgment in the earlier occasion when they say that when you revise it, it is being a promotion being integrated to the pay and salary of a person. It should be from the very same day, that is 1/1/2006. So this is these type of aberrations are taking place nowadays in the government executives. And the very purpose of this, 1979 revision of pension has come about only because of the item that was presented in the National Council. After a lot of deliberation, only it has come to that government ultimately considered the demand, having realized that there is difficulty for the pensioners. Now, today the situation is that the National Council is not meeting. None of the departmental hierarchical committee is meeting. No discussion is taking place. There is absolutely no bilateral talks at all with the government. It has come to such a pass. And the whole machinery has been made to be a nullity by the government. It will be convened as and when they require it. And they will make it as a talking shop and will go away and will be forgotten for another decade or so when it will be going to meet again. So this situation has left with no alternative for the employees except to approach the court. And court, as we all know, that it is saddled with many number of cases, and therefore nobody can function beyond their physical capability. As our what I say, Gupta has very rightly pointed it out, the police force, if there are atrocious things they are committing, that is also condemnable. But at the same time, we should also appreciate that they are turning out to make the society livable for every one of us. And the extra work they put in, there is absolutely no methodology of controlling or regulating their work schedule. So these are all to be addressed by the nation. If it is simply goes without addressing, then people will suffer. And suffering of the people has become now perhaps a pastime of the administrators or the governors of the country. So in that context, only the institutional framework will be in a position to help us out. It will have the status, it will also have certain amount of respectability in the eyes of the judges. And thirdly, it will also be a much better methodology of the people who are actually accused. It's not so. They are not going to the court because they can't afford to go. It's very difficult for them to go to today. That is the thing. Which we are playing. That's why this judgment is very relevant even today when we look at it, because the judgment gives a lot of benefit to us. And now regarding commutation of pension also, despite the fact that the interest rate was originally fixed at 4%, now it is 8%, government calculates it at 8% in order to ensure that this demand for 12 years is not considered. But now the market rate, now the bank rate that has been decided by the RBI has been much below 8%. How can the government continue to charge more than 8% from the employees? So these are all the things which as an organization we should address, and naturally because there is no platform for any bilateral discussions with the government. Ultimately, it has to come within the framework of the jurisdiction of the judiciary only. So this is the state of affairs in which we are placed. On this occasion, I also want to tell you, because NCCPA and also AIPRPA and also our our telecom employees organization, AIBDPA, all of us are today affiliated with the world body of the Trade Union International of Pensioners and Retirees, affiliated to the World Federation of Trade Unions. Now, World Federation of Trade Unions has presented a document which they are going to discuss in the next conference of the WFTU in the year 2022. Now that paper is not complete. They themselves admit that it has not been possible for them to collect the documents, collect the data from many countries, especially from Arab countries. They have got very little data that they could collect. So they say that it has to be collected and it has to be actually cogently placed. We should understand what should be the right of the pensioners in the days to come. Actually, the rights of the pensioners have been in most of the countries. They have made a very fine distinction that the countries which are controlled by the IMF and the countries which are not controlled by the IMF. When I say IMF, it is in International Monetary Fund. The moment you have taken loan from the International Monetary Fund, you come under the control of the IMF, and you don't have that. Your country almost loses its sovereignty. It cannot take its own decision, even if the ruler wanted to take such a decision, because they are bound by certain conditions that has been laid down by this institution. It is the condition that has been laid down by this institution. The pension fund became a playing ground for the stock market operators. Otherwise, it would not have been. It would have been possible for every government to utilize the pension fund, if at all they are establishing a pension fund. In most of the countries, there is a pension fund. They could have utilized it for the very benefit of the country itself. The national development, they could have used it. But today, IMF has told nothing doing. You have to put this fund which is available for the stock market operation. That means for the private entrepreneurs to access to have to this fund, and they can utilize that fund and make money out of that. And only a portion, a very small portion of it will be given to the people who have given this money. Now, very many countries, this fund has become almost bankrupt, because when it is actually managed by the private operators, they manage it for the purpose of benefit, purpose of profit. And for the purpose of profit, then they can also incur in losses, And ultimately, if the funds incur in losses because of their risk management system or because of their bad risk management possibilities, then the person who has contributed to the fund gets nothing. He actually goes away without even any pension. This is almost happening in many of the countries. So this distinction which they have made out, that the IMF controlled countries and the non-IMF controlled countries, in non-IMF controlled countries, even today, even in some of the IMF controlled countries also, for instance, Sri Lanka has taken loan from IMF, no doubt about it. But Sri Lanka has not abided by this particular condition which has been imposed by the IMF. So it has become necessary to have a world view on what pension should be, how much a person should get, what should be the, because it has to be quantified, not only in theoretical realm it will mean. It has to come in practical terms so that our employees and our pensioners will understand it. Dignified life is naturally, the definition of dignified life is that I should have the facility to live in a dignified manner in the society. But it requires elucidation because it is a very abstract idea, and that abstract idea will not be in a position to be percolated down to the level of the common employees and common pensioners. So that becomes the responsibility of the organization like that of ours to educate our mass of the employees that what exactly are the rights of the pensioners and how it has to be achieved. Because whenever we talk about pension, whenever we talk about wages, especially when government employees talks about the wages and pension, then naturally it comes, everybody will up in arms, including the media and all, persons who are supposed to be elites in the society. Every one of them will be up in arms saying that government resources are being frittered away on salaries and wages. This is one thing. But how are you going to get services of a certain? When somebody is giving a service to the society, he has to be paid for that. If you ask somebody to do the donor service, you will not get anybody at all. And if you are going to recruit the people and do the work from persons who doesn't have the capability to do that, you know that government employees are recruited through a very, very highly competitive examinations, and they have proved their mettle before everybody that they have got the ability, they have got the capacity to do the job. And therefore, if you don't pay them, if you pay a pittance, then what is that going to come? The country is going to suffer, not the person alone, because it will not be immediately seen that what will be the loss of the country. It will be seen only on a later date, perhaps after 2 decades or 3 decades, we will come to know what exactly the country has lost because of this absurd decision that the government or the governors responsible for the governing of the country has taken at a particular point of time. So these are all our tasks that we will have to ensure that our members, our pensioner comrades, even our employees, because pension is actually not only for the pensioners. Pension is actually a subject matter which should be a subject matter of very serious discussion in the mind of the people who are actually employed, who are working. It is for their evening they should now talk about it. If they feel that their evenings are going to be absolutely dismal and it is not going to have, they won't be able to live in the society as they have been living as an employee today, or their position will be much, much precarious, then they should realize it about it today, because they can't fight after the 50 years or 60 years or 70 years. You can't have a militancy in the fight. That's not possible, because militancy must have been already lost and you have already served the country with your militancy. So this is all the more necessary for the work. There should be a complete alliance between the serving employees as also the people who are retired. People who are retired can do a quite lot of things. When I talk about militancy, it is not only taking the flag and marching through the streets that perhaps may not be as easily possible for many of our pensioners as a serving employee. It could be. But there are many areas on which we will be in a position to help the the serving employees, and vice versa also. So there will have to be a complete collaboration, a complete understanding of the issues between these two organizations. Rather, trade unions should take the initiative of organizing the pensioners. This is what WFTU and TUI has decided in their document. They have very, very, very significantly told that unless the trade unions take it up as a responsibility, the question of a dignified life at the evening of the life of a person is not going to come about, citizens. So these are all the thoughts which I thought that I should share on this very important occasion in our in our life, that is on this Pensioners Day. And 17 December in our country we are actually doing it, but in all over the world this particular day is on 1st of October. Last 1st of October we have observed it. We talk about the pension per se, how it should be and what should be. I think there cannot be a pension system which can be less than the last pay drawn by a person, because it is that pay on which he has made out his life. It is that pay which has given him a status in the society. If he doesn't continue to get it, then till his death, then it will not be possible for him to have a dignified life in its real meaning. And therefore, I think that will have to be the minimum thing. The other things we can discuss, how it can be brought about, what are all the methodology of it can be done. Unless there is a world view on this matter, the differing points of view will actually blur the image that it comes before the mind of the people, and therefore a unanimity of opinion amongst all stakeholders on this matter has to emerge. And I'm sure WFTU in the next conference, or for that matter TUI with its effort, will be able to bring about it in the days to come. And this is all what I would like to say. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Before I sign off, let me congratulate and sincerely express my gratitude to the comrades of AIPRPA as also its leadership for organizing this webinar and inviting all the affiliates of the NPCPA and education become as good members of the organization as also good pensioners and a good citizen of the country. Thank you very much, Comrade President. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity once again. Thank you and thank you.
Thank you, Comrade KK Kuttiji, for your addressing. Now, another comrade and a trade union, veteran trade union leader is very much with us. Comrade KG Jairaj. He is General Secretary of All India Department of BSNL Pensioner Association. I request Comrade Jairaj to address this session. Comrade Jairaj, are you hearing me?
Yes, very much.
Yes. Yes.
So, respected President Comrade R.A. Rehate, our veteran leader, Comrade C.C. Pillai, former Secretary General of NFP, and Mr. Sapnada, who was delivered the keynote address in this webinar, Comrade KK Kutti, Secretary General of NCCPA, Comrade K. Raghavendran, General Secretary of the AIPRPA, and the other leaders and my dear friends. First of all, I congratulate AIPRPA and its General Secretary, Comrade K. Raghavendran, for taking initiative to organize this webinar and conducting it in a very good manner. And I also thank Comrade K. Raghavendran for giving me an opportunity to share my views in this webinar. So, comrades, we are observing the National Pensioners Day throughout the country today. The main significance and the importance of the Supreme Court judgment is being deliberated in every meeting. We have been talking about the discrimination. I think the significant point is that Supreme Court has given a definition about the pension. They have clearly stated that pension is not a charity or bounty to be given at the sweet will of the employer, but it is a right of the worker or the employee, and that amount, the pension, should ensure that a decent life in their old age. That is more important, I think. Then there are question of discrimination, disparity, etc. That has been clearly pronounced by in the Supreme Court. This is an historic judgment as far as the pensioners are concerned, and that is why it is being called as the Magna Carta of the pensioners. I think this judgment has gone beyond our country. Internationally also it is being acclaimed as the very good judgment. In whatever country judgment has come, this stands out first. And I think the WFTU also has taken leaves from this judgment. When we talk about pension, we have been talking about a dignified life at the old age. See, what is the concept? There should be a concept for that. WFTU and the TUI and the Trade Union International Pensioners Retirees have a clear perspective about that. What they say is that the real producer of the wealth in a country is the workers. The workers are the real producers of the wealth of that country. And that workers in their old age are surely to get a decent pension for a dignified life. That is very, very important. And when we think about the workers, it involves all type of workers, not only the government servants, not only the PSU employees, not only the factory employees. That is why in 1970, when Soviet Union was liberated, the first order Comrade Lenin signed was a pension scheme for all. For all means whether they are doctors, whether they are engineers, whether they are government employees, whether they are factory workers, whether they are peasantry, all type of workers should get a pension for a dignified life in their old age. That is the first order signed by Lenin. That is the concept of a socialist country. And now there are changes. Why changes? Most of our countries are under liberalization, privatization, and globalization scheme. That is capitalism. At the peak of the capitalism, exploitations are taking place. Exploitation comes in many ways. They indulge in wage cuts, they indulge in pension cuts. Even during the pandemic period, many of the countries where our capitalist rulers are there, they are attacking wage. They are cutting the pension also. Day before yesterday, I had a report from Greece that thousands of pensioners have paraded in Greece against the cut in pension. So such atrocities are taking place in every part of the world. So that is why I am talking about this capitalism. Capitalism means profit. As Comrade K.K. Kuti has rightly pointed out, profit means they want exploitation. That is a method for profit. So that is the root cause for all type of these attacks. Now coming to our country, everybody knows that in 1972 only a comprehensive pension scheme has come. That is Central Civil Services Pension Rules 1972. But that pension rules are not even being implemented in the letter and spirit, leave alone the Supreme Court judgment. We talk about Article 14. We talk about Article 144. We talk about Article 303. But whether this order, Supreme Court order, is being implemented in letter and spirit in our country, not at all, comrades. In several counts, discriminations are taking place. You see about, we are talking about the EPF pension, Employees Provident Fund pensions. What is the pathetic condition? How much they are getting? Comrade Raghavendran and Comrade K.K. Kuti have already told it. But we have in BSNL, the EPF pensioners, whatever employees, whichever employees have been recruited by BSNL, they are getting only EPF pension. Even not 1,500. One of the employee got the pension only 1,250. She had been put in 15 years service, but the pension she received at last is only 1,250. So that is a pathetic condition prevailing in our country as far as the EPF pensioners are concerned. Another is the NPS. NPS is a big attack on the pensioners community as a whole. So now what is the condition? NPS is being given by a pension fund. That pension fund itself is going to be handed towards the corporates. What will happen if the corporates, private corporates are handling this pension fund? Definitely danger is more. We cannot say what will happen to the hapless pensioners who are covered under the National Pension Scheme. Then the EPF pension fund, there is a huge fund, EPF pension fund. That fund also is going to be handed over to the corporates, which is very, very dangerous situation, comrades. What will happen if EPF and even very nominal pension they are being getting? That nominal pension also is in danger, means what is it? The country is going like that. Whatever the rulers, they don't mind about the consequences. Whatever is going to be happen to the people or the pensioners or the workers or the employees, they don't bother about it. They bother about the corporates only. They are concerned about their profit only. They are concerned about the monopoly of the landlords. They are concerned about the well-being of the corporates only. That is why these things are happening. See, going to a history of the pension, we should see that it was introduced in 1830 in Colombia. Thereafter, it came to India in 1871. That was a contributory pension scheme, of course. Thereafter, it was converted to this statutory pension scheme as per the recommendations of the Royal Commission appointed by the British government. So now, the statutory pension scheme we are getting is also in danger. A report has already come that those who have crossed 70 years, their pension will be limited to a certain amount. There is no basic pension, there is no DA, there is no other benefits, nothing else. Only a limited amount will be given for those who have crossed 70 years. This is a very, very big attack. The government says nothing is going to happen in this regard. But whatever the government says no, then the next day it will be yes. That is the experience with the BJP government. So it is not a small thing to be ignored. We have to take it very seriously. Then regarding this social welfare pensions, what is the government giving? Central government is giving only 200 to 300 rupees only. How can a worker retired after 60 years of age can pull on with this paltry amount of 200 or 300? Some state governments, including Kerala, is giving 1,600 rupees. That is not even sufficient. We are demanding, in Kerala, the associations of the senior citizens are demanding 5,000 rupees minimum as pension of the social welfare pension. So such is the case in Kerala. They are giving at least 1,600 and they are committed to give 2,500 within 5 years. But in other states like Bihar, what is the pension being given? Only 300. In many other states like UP, Gujarat, etc., they are giving only 300 as social welfare pension. The WFTU and the Trade Union International Pension Secretaries envisaging a universal pension scheme to all that should ensure a decent life in their old age and to provide proper health care, housing, potable water, transport facilities, and also entertainment, of course. But comrades, as I already told you, the situation in almost all the countries are very, very grim as far as the pensioners are concerned, or the senior citizens are concerned. And a need of the hour is the unity that way only we have to analyze the situation in every country and for the unity among the pensioners and evolve our demands and fight for it. I think Trade Union International pensioners or retirees are going in the right way in that sense. Of course, we have also observed International Pensioners Day on October 1st, and we have deliberated these issues in that day also. So let us affirm at this point this National Pensioners Day. When we observe National Pensioners Day, we have to affirm that our pledge to fight for the cause of the pensioners. And Comrade K.K. Nkuti has rightly pointed out one point. That is, that point also is covered by the Trade Union International Pensioners and Retirees also, because the workers association, workers organization, how to take care of the pensioners, because today's worker is going to be tomorrow's pensioner. So the pensioner, whatever attack come to the pensioners, that is going to affect them in future. So in that sense, the working employees organizations have take a greater role in pensioner system. As far as India is concerned, whatever challenges we are facing has to be fought together with the help of the working employees as organizations. That is why BSNL, All India BSNL DOT Pension Association is keeping very good rapport with the employees organizations in BSNL. Even then, we are not able to get our pension division. Even then, we are not able to get our medical facilities, medical benefits for the last 4 years. You can just imagine how a pensioner could pull on without getting the medical benefits for the last 3-4 years, even during this pandemic period. That situation is still there, unsettled. Then you see that in India, we don't have a proper platform to discuss the issues of the pensioners with the government. Of course, there is COA. I think it is a useless forum. Nothing is being decided there. Even if decisions are taken, it is not at all being implemented. So there should be a proper forum for the pensioners to have a negotiation with the central government, just like the JCM. The JCM also have got its own drawbacks, but still there is some credibility for the JCM. Just like JCM, we should have a proper forum for pensioners as a media of channel of communication with the government and the All India Association, pensioners organizations should be the members of that forum. Now, COA is being given only the regional wise organizations, not All India organization. Only some government level All India organizations are there in the COA. Whereas there are so many vibrant, strengthy organizations functioning All India level, like AABDPA, AAPRPA, NCCPA, etc. But they are not at all being made as members of the SCOA. That is why I am demanding that we have to take it very seriously with the national level, at the JCM level, that there should be a proper forum or platform to discuss major issues of the pensioners with the government. And that should be one of the methods. That does not mean that we should do away with our fighting capacity. Unless we fight, nothing is going to happen. So Common Cause has done a very good job as far as our 1982 judgment is concerned. And also in 1986, they have got this commutation order and also family pension order. All these are very, very vital, important, and whatever form we can help them. I fully agree with the Comrade Raghavendran and the Comrade K.K. Gupti that we should extend whatever little help we can give them. In that way, legally also we can fight. But nowadays, legal proceedings are a very, very long one. How many years? We were fortunate to get a verdict in the Nagara case within 3 years. But what about the present position? See, Madam Swapna also are stating that they are fed up. Even 10, 12 years, nothing is coming up. So legal proceedings are the last resort. Even for that, there should be a proper forum like a Common Cause to take up the vital issues. And I think not only this pensioners issues, whatever issues being concerned with the country or the people have to be taken by the Common Cause. For example, why can't they take up the issue of national monetization pipeline? What is the intention of the government? National through monetization pipeline, almost all the assets in the hands of the government are going to be handed over to the private corporates. What will happen if that is all the assets are handed over to the corporates? Where will the government have the money even to pay the pension in future? Very, very serious situation, comrades. This is the most dangerous issue before us, national monetization pipeline. It is not a small thing. Very, very serious issue which has to be fought with all our might. So many issues are there. When we observe this National Pensioners Day, all these things, I have just shared my wild thoughts with you. It's a very good opportunity we have been given. I once again thank AAPRP and Comrade Raghavendran for giving this opportunity, and thank you very much, comrades.
Thank you, Comrade K.G. Jayarajan. Comrade Jayarajan has spoke in detail on the issues and problems being faced by the pensioners and some of the remedial steps he has also suggested. Thanks to you. Now, I request Comrade C.C. Pillai, who is our advisor of AIPRPA, to address this webinar. Comrade Pillai, he was the Secretary General of LFP.
Whether his mic is not.
No, it is muted. Comrade Pillai, please unmute. Your mic, yeah.
Now it's okay.
Yes,
Okay.
you okay now.
So, comrades, Comrade D.K. Rahate, President of this webinar, and distinguished guests who already spoke, especially Madam Jha, K.K. Gupti, K.G. Jayaraj, Raghavendran, and all participants in this webinar. So this day, 17th December, every year is observed by pensioners in India, observed in the sense celebrating the judgment delivered by the Supreme Court on 17th December 1982 with regard to the historic judgment on pension. Mr. D.A. Desai, Justice Desai, on behalf of the Constitution Bench of the Supreme Court of India, headed by the Honorable Chief Justice Y.V. Chandrachud, has been delivered this judgment. This judgment has been hailed as the law of the land by the Fourth Central Pay Commission. Keeping this in view, the Fifth Central Pay Commission has recommended complete parity in pension for the pre-1986 and post-1986 pensioners, which has been also implemented by the government. As the judgment has been the first time rendered the much needed socio-economic justice to the pensioners as a class, enabling them to secure gradually from the government a pension scheme by which they could live with decency, independence, and self-respect. The date on which the judgment was delivered, that is 7th December 1982, is being observed as Pensioners' Day every year by the pensioner community all over India. Now, all our leaders who spoke here had already been placed the situation prevailing today with regard to pensioners' life. The government, under pressure of IMF, World Bank, and other G8 countries or G20 countries, have come to this conclusion that pension should not be paid from the government exchequer. It should be on the basis of contributory system. So that is a serious situation that is now prevailing in not only in India, and almost all countries which are very seriously affected by the retirees, pensioners, etc., etc. Now, when the government headed by Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee was in power, in the month of December 2003, I remember 2003, December, the government had promulgated an ordinance with regard to contributory pension scheme for those recruited, for those being recruited the central government department from 1st April 2004. It was the ordinance promulgated by government, and he after 2004 election, the power was lost for the BJP, and the new government came into power. That is called progressive government with the support of the left. During that period, for 5 years, when the left front supported the UPA government, they could not succeed in their efforts to promulgate or rather pass a bill in the parliament with regard to contributory pension system. But after 5 years in the next hustings, UPA government came to power without the support of the left front. So what had happened? Congress government at the center, with the support of the BJP MPs in the parliament, passed the bill introducing new pension system, national later on converted into national pension system, has been passed in the parliament. See, so the point is, we can understand from this that Congress and the BJP national parties were eager to pass this bill in the Lok Sabha, introducing this pension scheme, new pension, national pension system, new pension scheme. Now today, what in that particular bill, it has been mentioned that whenever government feels that the left out categories, that means now those who are under the pension, receiving under the pension statutory system, can also be brought into the contributory system. It's also there. So very dangerous situation is prevailing. At the same time, the government has planned various attacks on the pensioners, workers, and the working class all over the world is going on. So Comrade K.G. Jayaraj has already pointed out that after 70 years, no pension will be paid. Rather, a very meager amount will be paid to them. The 50% of the basic pay on retirement, getting pension with a relief, clearance relief, is not required. This is the situation now. Government is mooted. Very serious situation. So therefore, this is not only the issue confronting the pensioners alone. The entirety of the working class in this country, with all retirees and pensions, have to fight against this attack on the common people and the working class and the pensioners. Otherwise, we will have to suffer. Very many cases have been pointed out by Comrade K.K. Nguti also. What is happening with the JCM, National Council and other fora? Nothing is happening. You give the agenda, you give the item, government is not prepared to discuss until the back. So this is happening. Government is not prepared for any negotiation or any consultation with the working class or the pensioners for that matter. Now for that matter, you see, now government has already reduced the trade union facilities to the working class of this country. There were 44 trade union laws in this country, right from the Britishers' rule. But now it has been brought down to 4. In that, there is no chance for the workers to join the association unions. And also it is totally banned for collective bargaining and also right to association and collective bargaining. You see, what is happening in this country? entire resources is now transferring to the capitalist forces, corporates or international monetary, international community, that means corporate houses of India and also abroad. Everything is privatizing. Entire department, government department as well as public sector companies are being privatized for making good benefit. Recently, our Air India has already been given to Tata. It was for 2,700 crore rupees. 2,700 crore rupees, entire wealth of the country has been transferred to Tata. It is happening everywhere. Telecom, entire wealth of the telecom department is being transferred to the FDI, foreign direct investment or private enterprise. It is happening there. So government is for corporates. Government is for, Comrade K.G. Jairaj said, it is for the bourgeoisie, capitalist force. So therefore, a very united fight is required. Now February 25, 26, 2 days nationwide strike of Indian working class has already been decided, and mobilization is taking place throughout the country, and our people will, our pensioners, retirees will extend solidarity to this 2 days strike of the Indian working class. So unless the whole people are united, along with the working class, retirees or all, we will be in danger. The country will be in danger. The people will be in a disastrous position. So therefore, Comrade Raghavendran has organized such a seminar as a webinar today for celebrating the Magna Carta of pensioners, that is called 17th December of this year, to celebrate the judgment of the Supreme Court. Nowadays, government is not bothered about any proper judgment of the, or rather any judgment of the Supreme Court. Comrade K.K. Gutti has mentioned about the promotion to the central government departments. That is from first leaders who have organized this webinar so that we could celebrate the judgments of 17th December by the Supreme Court to uphold, to give up the standard of the living of the pensioners in this country. Thank you, Comrade. With these words, I conclude. Thank you.
Thanks to Comrade C.C. Pillai for his studious speech. Now I request, we are going to end the webinar. We have a prescribed time. I request Comrade Raghavendra to sum up the discussion. And prior to that, he may have some point for interaction if there is any. And thereafter, Comrade Raghavendra will sum up the discussion.
Comrade President and respected leaders and friends. Actually, I did not expect that the current is not here. Because of that, there is some interruption in the internet service also. Fortunately, from my telephone, I have connected with the webinar, and that is why it is still there. Otherwise, I will not be in a position to even address. Anyway, comrade, thank you. Comrade, I would like to thank Comrade Ms. Swapnaja, Senior Counsel of Common Cause, for sparing her time and come to this webinar and deliver a beautiful keynote address. And also she could spare so much of time to be with us. So naturally, we all, on behalf of the All India Postal and RMS Pensioners Association, and also from other organizations that we represent, we are sincerely thanking Comrade Swapnaja for her participation, for her valuable guidance, and her presence in our webinar. And this is first I would like to express. And comrades, our NCCP leader and Secretary General, Comrade KKN Kutti, and AIBDP General Secretary Comrade KG Jayaraj, and Comrade CC Pillai, our advisor and ex-Secretary General NFPE, they were with us, and they have given a very valuable advice and very valuable speeches. And therefore, I would like to thank all of them. And as usual, Comrade Raghateji, our president, despite his physical condition, he was able to be present and preside over this webinar. And I thank all of you. Actually, I have nothing to add, especially after all these leaders and speakers have presented a very beautiful picture about Nakara judgment, common cause role, and the present day conditions of the country, and the role of the pensioners and workers at the international level. Naturally, I would like to say only one point, that pensioners on our own cannot do anything. We are actually without that weapon in our hands. Now, by joining with the working class trade union movement and all trade unions of our own industry, each industry, and by building a united platform of all pensioners and all workers alone, and with all the NGOs and all social minded organizations in the country, we can pressurize the government and move forward. Therefore, we shall work for such a larger platform. And naturally, I thank all of you for presenting here, for patiently hearing the speeches of the leaders. I thank everyone on behalf of the AIPRPA, and thank you all. And as requested by Ms. Swapnaja, I will send all the OMs, government orders, and other important information about the NPS to her by email, which she will be definitely discussing with the Common Cause organization when they meet, and then further we will take it up as things develop. With this assurance, I thank all of you, and especially Ms. Swapnaja, for able to be present here and take part in our deliberations. Thanks for all of you. Thanks one and all. Thank you very much.